What if I told you there are towns in America where you can buy property for the price of a used Honda Civic, and your first reaction isn't excitement, it's suspicion? Not theoretical cheap, not affordable with creative financing cheap. The kind of cheap that makes you check the listing 3 times, Google property scams, and wonder if the house comes with a curse, a sinkhole, or a very patient ghost. These are real towns, on real maps, where houses sell for $10,000, where vacant lots go for the price of a nice dinner, and where the phrase "move-in ready" is applied so loosely it borders on performance art. And the wildest part? It's not a scam. It's just America. The version most people forgot exists. The towns the economy left behind, the places where population collapse met housing surplus, and the result was property so cheap it breaks your brain. Before we tour 14 towns where real estate prices feel like typos from a more generous dimension, hit that like button. Not because I need the emotional validation. I'm held together by coffee and spite at this point. But because every time you do, a real estate agent somewhere has to recalculate their entire commission structure. And honestly, that feels like community service. And subscribe if you want more videos about the overlooked corners of America, where land is cheap, expectations are low, and the phrase investment opportunity is used by people who may or may not own all their teeth. If you don't, I'll make you attend a timeshare presentation in a town where the welcome sign is duct taped to a stop sign. All right, let's begin this journey through the cheapest property in America. 14 towns where prices are so low, you'll assume someone's lying, and then you'll check Zillow and realize they're not. Pine Bluff, Arkansas sits in the southeastern corner of the state, like a town that watched the 20th century happen and decided not to participate in the 21st. This was cotton country, river commerce, a place where the Arkansas River met ambition and money flowed through like the town had a future worth betting on. Then the economy shifted, the jobs left, the population followed, and what remained was a landscape of empty buildings, cheap land, and property prices that look like someone forgot a zero. Property here commonly appears in the $15,000 to $90,000 range, not luxury condos, not renovated Victorians, vacant lots, older homes that need work, structures that were abandoned mid-thought and never finished. The kind of real estate where as-is isn't a clause, it's a lifestyle. Walk through Pine Bluff and you'll see the architecture of a place that used to matter. Wide streets, historic buildings with bones that remember better decades, storefronts that closed so long ago the signs faded into abstraction. And between all of it, property selling for prices that make people from coastal cities check if Arkansas changed its currency. The reason isn't complicated. Population dropped, demand collapsed. The housing stock didn't disappear, it just sat there, waiting, while the market decided it wasn't worth much anymore. Economic decline doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like a for sale sign that's been up for 3 years and the price keeps dropping. This isn't a scam. It's supply and demand in a place where supply stayed constant and demand walked away. You can buy property here for what a parking space costs in San Francisco. But you're not buying convenience, infrastructure, or a booming job market. You're buying space in a town that's still figuring out what it wants to be next. Head north to the Mississippi Delta, and you'll find Clarksdale, a town where the blues were born, and property prices currently reflect a similar level of melancholy. This is cotton and music country, the crossroads where Robert Johnson supposedly sold his soul, a place with deep cultural history and shallow economic prospects. Property here frequently falls in the $10,000 to $60,000 range, driven by long-term decline in a housing market that ran out of optimism decades ago. Clarksdale has charm, historic downtown, juke joints, museums dedicated to music that changed the world. But charm doesn't pay property taxes. and the economy that once supported this town packed up and moved somewhere with better infrastructure and fewer structural issues. Property is cheap here because too many people left and not enough came back. Houses sit vacant, lots go unused, and the market, faced with more supply than buyers, did what markets do. It dropped the price until someone, somewhere, decided it was worth the risk. You can buy a house here for the cost of a used car, but you're buying into a region where jobs are scarce, services are limited, and the nearest city with serious economic activity is far enough away that commuting isn't realistic. It's not a scam. It's just math in a place where the math stopped working in most people's favor. Further north, sitting where Illinois, Kentucky, and Missouri almost touch, you'll find Cairo, pronounced Cairo, by locals who will correct you with the patience of people who've had this conversation 10,000 times. Cairo was once a strategic river town, commerce hub, the place where the Ohio River meets the Mississippi, and ambition met opportunity. Now it's the poster child for what happens when strategic importance becomes historical footnote. Property here can be found from $5,000 to $50,000, reflecting extreme population loss and widespread abandonment. Drive through Cairo, and you'll see entire blocks that look like stage sets for post-apocalyptic films. Empty buildings, streets where nature is slowly reclaiming what humans left behind. And property prices so low, they feel like the real estate equivalent of a clearance sale at a store that's been going out of business for 30 years. The reason is simple and brutal. The population dropped from 15,000 to under 2,000. The economy collapsed, services disappeared, and the housing stock, with nowhere to go, just sat there, depreciating until the prices hit numbers that make people question whether property can actually be worth that little. It can. Cairo proves it. This isn't fraud. It's what happens when a town loses 90% of its population and the buildings don't vanish with them. You can own property here for the price of a nice laptop, but you're not buying into a functioning community. You're buying into a place still figuring out if it has a future at all. Head northeast into Pennsylvania, and you'll reach Johnstown, a town that survived the Johnstown flood and then spent the next century surviving economic floods that never quite receded. This was steel country, coal country, the kind of place where industry meant jobs, jobs meant stability, and stability meant property had value. Then the mills closed, the economy tanked, and the property market entered a long, slow decline that continues today. Property here often ranges from $25,000 to $120,000, shaped by post-industrial collapse and aging housing stock that nobody's rushing to renovate. Johnstown isn't empty. It's occupied. People live here, work here, raise families here. But the economic engine that once powered the town ran out of fuel decades ago, and the property values reflect that reality. You can buy houses here for prices that would barely cover a down payment in most American cities. But you're buying into a region where job opportunities are limited, and the infrastructure feels like it's held together by optimism and duct tape. This isn't a scam. It's just what happens when the economy moves on and the buildings stay behind. Johnstown has history, architecture, and a population that hasn't given up. What it doesn't have is the kind of economic momentum that makes property valuable. So the prices stay low, the houses sit on the market, and people from other states look at the listings and assume there must be something terribly wrong. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's just Johnstown being Johnstown, a place where affordability isn't a selling point, it's just the default setting. Further north into New York State, yes, that New York, you'll find Jamestown, a town that benefits enormously from the confusion its name creates. When people hear New York, they think Manhattan, Brooklyn, expensive everything. When you tell them Jamestown is in New York, and property commonly runs $30,000 to $140,000. They assume you're either lying or talking about a different state. You're not. This is New York. Just the part of New York where property prices haven't received the memo about being expensive. Jamestown sits in Chautauqua County, near the western edge of the state, close enough to Pennsylvania that the cultural vibe feels more Rust Belt than Empire State. This was furniture manufacturing country, factory town, the kind of place where industry provided stability until it didn't. Now it's a town with affordable property and people who are tired of explaining that not all of New York looks like a Woody Allen film. Property here is cheap because the local economy never recovered from industrial decline. Jobs left, population stagnated, and the housing market, faced with more supply than demand, adjusted prices downward until they hit numbers that feel impossible for a state known for being prohibitively expensive. This isn't a scam. It's geography and economics meeting in a place most people forget exists. You can buy property in New York State for less than you'd spend on 6 months of rent in New York City. But you're not buying proximity to Broadway or Wall Street. You're buying space in a town that's still figuring out what comes after manufacturing. Head south into Alabama and you'll find Gadsden, a town where the Coosa River flows and property prices flow even lower. Gadsden was steel, rubber, manufacturing. The kind of Alabama town that wasn't farming cotton. It was making things. Then the factories closed, the jobs disappeared, and the property market entered a long slide that hasn't found a bottom yet. Property commonly falls between $25,000 and $110,000, influenced by industrial decline and low regional demand that shows no signs of reversing. This is a town with infrastructure, history, and people. What it doesn't have is the economic foundation that makes property hold value. You can buy houses here for what a used car costs in California, vacant lots for what a weekend trip to Disney costs. And each time you see the prices, you'll wonder if there's a catch. Sometimes the catch is the house needs work. Sometimes it's the neighborhood. Sometimes it's just that nobody else wants to live there, so the price reflects that reality. But often, there's no catch at all, just a property market in a place where demand dried up and supply never went anywhere. Gadsden isn't selling itself as a destination. It's just existing, quietly, in northern Alabama, with property prices that reflect its economic reality rather than its promotional ambitions. Move east into West Virginia, and you'll reach Beckley, a town that sits in the mountains like a place that watched the coal industry collapse in slow motion and is still processing the aftermath. This is Appalachia, mining country, the kind of place where coal meant everything until it meant nothing, and the transition between those two states lasted long enough to hollow out the economy without destroying the population entirely. Property generally ranges from $30,000 to $150,000, reflecting Appalachian economics and the lingering effects of an industry that once defined the region. Beckley has hills, history, and people who stayed when leaving would have been easier. What it doesn't have is the kind of booming economy that makes property expensive. You can buy land here, houses here, space here, all for prices that make people from other regions assume the listings are missing critical information. They're not. The information is just uncomfortable. Property is cheap here because the economy collapsed and hasn't rebuilt. Jobs are scarce, services are limited, and the housing market, faced with more sellers than buyers, adjusted prices to match reality. This isn't fraud, it's just Appalachia being Appalachia, a place where beauty and struggle coexist, where property is affordable, because affordability is what happens when demand disappears. Head west into Kansas, and you'll find Hutchinson, a town that sits on the plains like a place that forgot to be expensive. This is Midwest country. Salt mines, agriculture. The kind of Kansas where the sky is bigger than the ambitions and property often appears in the $40,000 to $160,000 range shaped by Midwest pricing and surplus land that nobody's competing for. Hutchinson isn't desperate. It's functional. People live here, work here, raise families here. But it's also a place where property doesn't cost much because there's no pressure driving prices higher. No tech boom, no tourism surge, no coastal migration pushing demand through the roof. You can buy property here for prices that feel reasonable until you compare them to national averages, and then they feel suspiciously low. But that's just Kansas. That's just the Midwest. That's just what happens in places where land is plentiful and people aren't fighting over it. This isn't a scam. It's just supply and demand in a place where the demand is modest and the supply is substantial. You get space, you get affordability, and you get to live in a state where the word flat is both a geographic descriptor and a compliment. Move northeast into Michigan and you'll hit Flint, a name so famous for its problems that property prices have become a side note to the tragedy. Flint was automotive, General Motors, the kind of Michigan town where the factory was the economy, and the economy was everything. Then the factory wasn't everything anymore, and the town entered a decline so severe that even the water supply became international news. Property frequently shows up between $10,000 and $80,000, with prices depressed by long-term structural issues that go far beyond real estate. You can buy property here for almost nothing. Houses, lots, structures that need work, structures that need demolition, structures that fall into some undefined category between the two. And every time someone outside Michigan sees the prices, they assume it's a scam or a trap or both. It's neither. It's just Flint, a town where the economy collapsed, the population shrank, and the property market adjusted to reflect a reality where more people are leaving than arriving. The prices aren't low because someone's hiding something. They're low because the market has no reason to keep them higher. This isn't investment opportunity. This isn't hidden value. This is just what property costs in a place where the economy broke and hasn't been fixed. Further east into Ohio, you'll find Youngstown, another Rust Belt city where the steel industry died and the housing market never quite recovered. Youngstown was mills, steel. The kind of Ohio town where blue-collar work meant stability and property had value because jobs were plentiful. Then the mills closed, the jobs vanished, and the property market entered a long, slow collapse that continues decades later. Property commonly falls around $15,000 to $90,000, tied to steel industry collapse and depopulation that shows no signs of reversing. You can buy property here for prices that look like clerical errors. Houses that once housed factory workers, lots that once had potential, neighborhoods that once had futures, all available for what you'd spend on a modest vacation. The catch isn't hidden, it's obvious. The economy collapsed, the population shrank, and the property that remained lost value because nobody was competing to own it. This isn't fraud. It's just Youngstown being Youngstown, a place where history is rich and property is cheap, and those two facts are connected in ways nobody likes to talk about. Move west into Indiana, and you'll reach Gary, a town so synonymous with decline that its own name has become shorthand for post-industrial collapse. Gary was steel, U.S. Steel, a company town where the mill was everything and the population peaked at over 170,000 before entering a decline so severe the city lost more than half its residents. Property often ranges from $10,000 to $100,000, driven by severe population loss and abandoned housing stock that sits empty like monuments to better decades. You can buy property here for almost nothing. Houses that need everything. Lots that need someone to care. Entire blocks where nature is reclaiming what humans abandoned. And every time you see the prices, you'll understand why people assume it's a scam. It's not. It's just Gary. A place where the economy died, the population fled, and the property that remained became worth whatever the last desperate buyer was willing to pay. The prices aren't low because someone's hiding something. They're low because the market accurately reflects what property is worth in a place where nobody wants to live. This isn't opportunity, this is aftermath, and the prices reflect that. Move south into Illinois, and you'll find Decatur, a town that sits in the middle of the state, like a place that once had purpose and is still figuring out what that purpose should be now. Decatur was manufacturing, agriculture, processing, the kind of Illinois town where industry and farming coexisted, and property had value because work was plentiful. Then industry declined, manufacturing left, and the property market adjusted downward to reflect a new reality where demand was lower and supply was constant. Property typically appears between $20,000 and $120,000, reflecting stagnation in a former industrial hub. You can buy property here for prices that feel wrong compared to what Americans expect property to cost. Houses, land, space, all available for numbers that make you double-check the listing and wonder if you're reading it correctly. You are. Decatur isn't hiding anything. It's just a place where the economy shifted, the population stagnated, and the property market reflected those changes by lowering prices until they matched reality. This isn't fraud. It's just Illinois, the part of Illinois that doesn't border Chicago and doesn't benefit from its gravity. Head south into Arkansas and you'll reach Blytheville, a town where cotton once ruled and property prices now rule the conversation. Blytheville sits in the northeastern corner of Arkansas near the Mississippi River, in a region shaped by agriculture and military presence. When the Air Force Base closed and farming mechanized, the economy that supported the town weakened, and property prices adjusted accordingly. Property commonly ranges from $15,000 to $100,000, influenced by agricultural and military drawdowns that reduce demand without reducing supply. You can buy property here for what feels like monopoly money: houses that need work, lots that need vision, space that needs someone willing to see potential instead of decline. And every time someone from outside the region sees the prices, they assume there must be something catastrophically wrong. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's just Blytheville, a place where property is cheap because the economy that once supported higher prices isn't there anymore. Finally, head west into New Mexico and you'll find Truth or Consequences, a town with a name so strange it distracts from the fact that property here is cheap enough to make you wonder if New Mexico is actually still part of America. This town sits in Sierra County, surrounded by desert, hot springs, and a landscape that looks like someone tried to build Mars on Earth and gave up halfway through. Property generally falls in the $40,000 to $180,000 range, shaped by isolation, niche appeal, and desert geography that appeals to exactly the kind of person who finds conventional towns boring. Truth or Consequences isn't desperate, it's weird, intentionally weird. The kind of place where property is affordable not because the economy collapsed, but because nobody fights over land in the middle of the New Mexico desert unless they specifically want to be there. You can buy property here for prices that feel low compared to anything coastal, anything urban, anything near civilization. But that's the point. This isn't civilization. This is New Mexico. This is desert, hot springs, silence, and space. Property is cheap here because demand is limited to people who actively want isolation. And that's a smaller market than people who want convenience. This isn't a scam. It's just geography. It's just supply and demand in a place where supply is vast and demand is selective. So here we are, 14 towns, 14 very different stories, 14 places where property is so cheap it breaks your assumptions about value, risk, and reality. These aren't perfect places. They're not convenient. They're not glamorous. They're towns the economy left behind, places where population collapsed, where industry died, where the housing market adjusted to reflect a reality where demand disappeared and supply just sat there waiting. But they're real. They're on maps. And the prices aren't scams. They're just what property costs in places where nobody else wants it. These towns prove something uncomfortable about America. That value is subjective. That property is only worth what someone will pay. That the narrative we tell ourselves about real estate, that it always appreciates, that land is always valuable, that owning property is always smart, doesn't hold true everywhere. In these 14 towns, property is cheap because the market says it should be, not because someone's lying, not because there's fraud, just because supply exceeded demand and the price adjusted until it found a floor. And maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that's just honesty. Maybe these towns, with their suspiciously low prices and their abandoned buildings and their uncertain futures, are the most honest places left in America. Places where property costs what it's actually worth. Where value isn't inflated by speculation or scarcity or proximity to money. Where you can own land, own space, own a structure for prices that feel impossible because we've been trained to believe property should be expensive. But it doesn't have to be, not everywhere. Not in these 14 towns where the American dream is still affordable. You just have to be willing to live somewhere the dream moved away from.